Mimplitz came out with this video. It talks about the story of Marathon, everything that's happened up until this point. For those of you guys that don't know, we haven't heard anything from Marathon or Bungie or anything like that at all. There is the state of play that's coming very soon. It's a PlayStation show, from what I understand, and people are maybe hoping and coping that we might see something there. But I'm going to go ahead and say that we're probably not going to see anything. And that's sad. I miss Marathon, and it's unfortunate the turn that it's taken and how the hype has died down tremendously. But we're going to kind of do a reaction to this video and just I guess see what Mimplitz is talking about. He's got some things to say, and this is Bungie's Marathon Nightmare, the story you didn't know.
Hello everyone, and what a few weeks it's been. The Bungie Marathon situation has been an absolute roller coaster from start to finish, and as the final video for now, I'm covering the whole situation from start to finish, which will include the very first reveal all the way back in 2023.
All right, so we're going on a bit of a roller coaster here, because what you're seeing right here on the screen is, of course, the very end of the ARG. But what a ride the ARG was. It is what made me fall in love with Marathon. It's what made me so connected to the game.
A teaser earlier this year that the community sold from the cryptic riddle Bungie put out, the first pre-release reveal and the livestream, the alpha and its reception, as well as the subsequent drama and the fallout of the horrible decisions made by Bungie leadership. I've done a whole lot of videos documenting the whole situation, and with both Bungie and Sony planning the next steps, it's the perfect time to do one whole video outlining everything, so if anyone needs to reference back to a specific point in this whole ordeal, this is the video for that. I think it's important that I cover both positives and negatives, the good and the bad. I'll be completely objective, and you guys can make up your own minds about the game, the studio, and what the future holds.
Thank you, Mimplitz. Thank you for covering both sides and not just being a negative reporter. That's good news.
With that said, let's start at the beginning, Marathon's first reveal. May 24th, 2023. Bungie reveals Marathon at the PlayStation Showcase to a very positive reception about the game. The first reveal focused on the overall art style, that it will be an extraction shooter, and that if people want to be a content creator for Marathon, you can lodge a request on the official website. It's important to note Marathon had players testing and giving feedback for years. One common piece of feedback was for solo and duo queue, something that wasn't listened to.
Yes, we talked about it many times. They are stuck on not having a solo or a duo queue. I don't know why, but it is something. I was at Bungie Studios myself, and it is something that was brought up often. Yeah, that's what I'll say.
People really loved the first reveal, the reintroduction of an old franchise. There were a few complaints that it looked very different from the original, but faith was put into Bungie that they knew what they were doing, and that they would respect the legacy of the franchise that first gave Bungie that broad mainstream success. In terms of content, Bungie provided one teaser trailer and one broad vidoc on what they were working on as a studio. It's funny that my exact reaction in the description of my first video on it said, and I quote, "Curious if anything will be like the original at all besides the name." Oh, how right I was. After that, Bungie said they were going heads down until they have gameplay to share, so we fast forward all the way to April 2025. Bungie provides the very first teasers to Marathon in the form of ARG. These teasers were to be solved by the community. Shout out to Mr. Roffle Waffles and his stream, and within the ARG contained the very first official teaser by Bungie for Marathon. This probably was the height of optimism and positivity. Not only did it bring people together, but it was also a perfect way to tease
sniffer.
An upcoming game. Marathon's strength has always been its lore, and the cryptic clues that Bungie gave us played into this in a big way. Public perception during this time was overwhelmingly positive, and fans were hopeful Bungie was respecting the legacy of the franchise. Moving on to just a few days later, Bungie flies out content creators and plans the first major reveal of Marathon. It will be in the form of a stream that will showcase official gameplay and a short film providing more lore to the Marathon story. This news spreads like wildfire and gave the perception that Marathon was going to be truly special. I hadn't seen people so excited in years for a video game. It felt
this video hurts. I was one of those that was very excited for the video game. And I haven't been that excited about a video game in years, literal years, 4 years to be exact, when Halo Infinite beta came out. Yeah. Gosh darn it, man.
Truly generational, as all Bungie games since Halo have been culture defining for the industry. So April 14th, 2025 arrives and Bungie reveals Marathon for the very first time. The live stream goes live, and in the hours leading up to the reveal, the Marathon community were given control of a remote controlled car. This little car explored through the halls of Bungie, seeing all of the developers, past nods to ex-Bungie titles, and of course some teasers for Marathon. This ultimately led to the reveal presentation featuring a trailer, a gameplay overview, and a short film showing the runners on Tau Ceti 4. The short film shows what human lives have become once they've given up their bodies to become runners. It also shows that over time, they can forget who they truly are. This again plays into the lore of Marathon, the story, and it's what players were really invested in. Unfortunately, it's also revealed Marathon will not have a full campaign, and that its multiplayer will be the way Bungie will be telling its story. At this time, things are still being received well. Bungie did land
Somewhat well.
the first reveal. People are optimistic about the launch, and content creators have uploaded their first gameplay from being flown out to the studio. The streams itself had hundreds of thousands of people watching it, and everybody, and I mean everybody, was fighting for a code for the closed alpha. A few days later, Bungie reveals the next test of the game will be a closed alpha, and that by watching the reveal and or redeeming codes, you have a better chance of being invited. Getting a code didn't guarantee access, which I found a bit weird. In a shocking but welcome move, Bungie decides to drop the NDA, the non-disclosure agreement, meaning that players who
This is taking me down a trip memory lane, and I'm not enjoying this at all. It is just reminding me how amazing everything was until the alpha came out.
have played the game and did have knowledge of the title were free to share their thoughts, and players could also provide feedback on the alpha build of the game once it went live. To me personally, this was a fantastic move, as even with the feedback players gave, it gave Bungie the opportunity to make changes before the September launch.
Right.
Before the alpha even came out, people were so skeptical of one, the customization systems. They thought there'd be skins instead of full customization players expected, no official PvE mode, so the only way to play Marathon would be player versus player only, and that Bungie developers outright said that Marathon wasn't for everybody. This wasn't a deal breaker for the game, but it did raise the alarms. Many players said, well, a game for everyone is a game for no one, so we'll judge it once the alpha is live. And oh boy, did things not go the way Bungie had planned from here on out. This brings us to the open alpha, the first time the broader public were able to play Marathon for the first time. Tens of thousands of players were given access, although it was by no means smooth to get access to play the game.
Do we know that tens of thousands of players got access? I'm not sure if it was that many. I'm unsure where he got that number from, but let's just continue.
Bungie intended a closed alpha with limited players, so the fact that they had to upscale this process within a week was a massive task that came with many technical challenges. I know for a fact that Bungie developers were working 14 to 16 hours a day to try and get as many people into the alpha as possible. The systems in place were just simply not designed for such a large test, and they did pretty good considering. I also know a lot of people were like, why didn't Bungie do what Arc Raiders did and invite everyone? Arc Raiders were smart and they planned their test to be open. Bungie had no notice, so what they did was the best of what they could. With that in mind, the open alpha of Marathon launched to very mixed reviews. Comments range from the
Keeps using the words open alpha. This was not an open alpha. This was an alpha that many people did not get invited to. I don't know about tens of thousands of invites going out, because I don't think that's the case. In fact, I sent an invite to a Bungie employee and he filled out the survey. I'm sorry, a Halo Studios employee. He filled out the survey and didn't even get in and couldn't get in. So I don't know about the tens of thousands of players. I don't know about an open alpha, but everything else he's saying is pretty accurate.
art style feeling bland in many outdoor areas, to the gameplay not feeling intuitive. It also had many players speaking out about the viability of playing solo versus in a trio. It's important to note that Bungie, or more specifically Bungie leadership, wanted a completely different audience than what they had with Halo and Destiny. But in saying that, many players of those franchises ended up playing the alpha. I pointed out the game isn't an arena PvP shooter, it's an extraction shooter, and by the very definition of that, it's going to be different. Bungie leadership leadership did this because they want more money. They wanted to take the Tarkov population, they wanted to keep the Destiny population, they wanted to milk two core groups of gamers. In saying that, the biggest sticking point that kept on coming up was the narrative. Yes, the alpha didn't have much in terms of story, but SkillUp said in his first review, less than 6 months out from launch, the broader narrative hadn't been written yet.
And this was completely wrong, and this is, I don't know why this is continuously brought up in these videos. I think people are misinformed. I also think Bungie didn't actually outright come out and say that, but this is a miscommunication. This is not correct. Just wanted to clear that up again. Anyway.
Big red flag to people. Yes, the start and the ending points had been worked out, but how players got from start to finish hadn't been. To me, the journey is the hardest part to create. You can have a start and end point, but how you get there is what people will remember. From a game that had such a rich lore in the 90s to such a barren one in 2025, this got a lot of skepticism from players about Marathon.
I wouldn't really say rich. You read the lore off of a screen. Yes, the lore and this, what you read off the screen was amazing, and the story was incredible. But anyway, like for me, it's like we didn't. That wasn't what the alpha was for, to test, or to get into lore. But they still, like, if you go watch Jake the Alright, like, they still did a really good job. There's still a lot of, like, salutes to a lot of different aspects of Marathon from 1993 that were in the Marathon game, but they weren't, like, magnified or showed off in the way that they should have been. And in my opinion, it was because they were just testing, like, core features that they wanted to test. It was not there was not a full game there. Like, the game was, like, maybe 20% of what the actual game will be when it launches. But anyway,
being a sequel in name only. Once the alpha concluded, players on the whole were mixed. Some people really enjoyed Marathon, some absolutely hated it. But
I think a lot of people that had access liked it, but I say that and you look at the numbers and a lot of people stopped playing it over time. I also think there's a lot of sheep in the world, so like in my mind I'm automatically thinking like the people that had access to the beta were having fun, and then their friends would be like, why do you like that game? It looks like trash. And then they're like, oh, you're right. And then they get off, like I'm already like, I'm putting this in my mind, like thinking about how like these friend groups go and what people have said in my channel. And it's like, maybe I would say for me personally, my opinion on it, it was great. It was really, really fun. I think it was lacking a lot. I think it got very boring and repetitive over time. Like I can see someone who's like not grinding content or not really caring about the content side of things. They're just trying to have a good time, kind of getting bored with it because there wasn't a lot in the alpha, but at the end of the day, there wasn't supposed to be a lot,
On the whole, people said, look, it's an alpha, here's our constructive feedback, we'll make a full decision about the game once it launches in September. Speaking of the launch date, I myself had criticisms about the game even being ready in September. There was still so much to do, and after seeing players' feedback, I was like, there's absolutely no way this game ships then. After that, things quietened down for Marathon, and Bungie, as a studio, planned to do a live stream discussing the game's alpha with the art director and other employees. This was until Fern, a freelance artist, shared that Bungie had used some of her art for the game's alpha in terms of decals and overall design. Too many players once.
Okay, the overall design again, like I don't know why we're sticking this context in there. This quote unquote overall design is a art design named, right? This is an actual art design style, okay? And to prove that this wasn't quote unquote stolen, or the overall design wasn't stolen, all you have to do is go back to Joe Cross 10 years ago and he has art that looks exactly like Marathon looks right now. So again, to claim that something's like the overall design is stolen, I don't know why this narrative is being pushed still, is wrong. The decals are 100% stolen, and that is not okay. I want to make that clear. Like the decals and like this is all completely stolen, right? Fully. That is not okay in the slightest. Obviously, we have still not heard what they've done for this. But to claim the overall art design was stolen is kind of crazy. That's not the case. Decals, these logos and stuff, all the stuff that like you know, she had shown pictures of. All of that stuff was outright stolen, and even like tried to like the artist that did it tried to cover it up too, which is even crazier. But he did a terrible job of it, like by blurring her logo and stuff. So yeah, I agree. I think it's really horrible. We have not heard of what has been done for Anti-Real yet. I don't even think Anti-Real has tweeted about this yet. So I am unsure. Her account name was on the art. Yes, like I said, Bal, the decals were stolen. Yes, the decals were stolen. The overall art design, people are saying that they stole the entire marathon art design from her. That is incorrect. Again, you just go look at Joseph Cross 10 years ago, and you will see that everything that he made 10 years ago is marathon style. Everything. Again, people are just not, they don't understand the way art works and how art styles work. But
they saw this, it tainted one of the
again, we'll never know. We'll never know. You know, Joseph Cross was obviously following the artist on Twitter for a couple of years. We'll never know if he had inspired design. I mean, art is inspired. That's how art works. But we'll never know if he like directly was inspired by her, like, and what percentage of her artwork was inspired in his artwork. Obviously, there was a blend there. We'll never know. At the end of the day, unless she takes them to court or whatever, which she could, we'll never know. We'll never know. They can say we didn't. She can say whatever she wants. We'll never know. You know what I mean?
Things Marathon was universally adored for, its artistic style and its direction.
Like this is kind of nuts, right? Like this was for the ARG or whatever. This was for like the ARG. This is like this is the stuff that like blows me away, right? It's very similar. And you could tell this is like this right here, for instance, right? This is similar, different, but too similar to pass and say whatever about. You know what I mean? Way too similar. This is one of the things that I'm like, this is not good, you know?
All of the pre-release material had looked beautiful, and players loved what Bungie was aiming for. This entire controversy put a black eye onto all of it, with this being the 4th time in 4 years that Bungie was caught plagiarizing other artists' work.
That's another problem. 4 years, or sorry, 4 different instances where they have done the same thing. Not good. 4 times is fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 3 times, we got a problem. Fool me 4 times, take me to court. You know what I mean? Like it's not good at all. So that goes against them as well. So it's like, I'm over here like defending and stuff, you know, because, you know, it's the truth. The art design, the art style, quote unquote, is a style of art. It's not like owned by a single person. But again, what has been taken from Joseph, what is Joseph Cross and the team or whoever, artist, whatever, what inspiration and how much inspiration have they taken from one person, right? And when you're seeing, like, it just, everything goes against Bungie here. Like, when you see, like, things being stolen, decals being stolen, the ARG icons and symbols being a direct comparison to the ones that she made, like, there's too many things that go against Bungie here, right? There's just way too many. But again, like, in my mind, I don't know what happened. I don't know who's, like, which side of it is true. I don't know what exactly happened. So it's like, I can only say what I know, and that Joseph Cross 10 years ago had that same art style or whatever, or used that art style in many of his images. Don't think he would just, the guy's so skilled, I don't think he would take from someone, but at the same time, like, how much inspiration did he take, you know?
Many people said, look, if this happened once, then sure, it could be an oversight, but this is the 4th time. What are you guys doing? Needless to say, this spread like wildfire, garnering so much mainstream attention, and it meant that Bungie's public perception, as well as Marathon's, absolutely went down the toilet. Bungie was already being sued for Destiny 2's campaign, with artists claiming the first Red War campaign had enemies lifted from pre-existing work. That first campaign isn't even available on Destiny 2, which people also hated. It also brought forward the past indiscretions Bungie had done, a horrible look.
Like, this is so many times. A cutscene, Witch Queen trailer, Destiny 2 Ace of Spades Nerf gun, environmental art, the entire Red War campaign. Like, that is a lot of different things, man. That's a lot of different things. Resolution, credited artist after mistake noticed, apologized, compensated artist, in contact to compensate and credit, no response as of May 15th. Yeah, there is something genuinely wrong and it needs to be changed. This many times, I don't care if you say it's one employee or one this, like, you know why this makes me mad? Is because, like, if it is one employee or if it is a system that is like not catching these things, which it obviously is, it upsets me because there are so many artists that work for this company that are now also under fire, but they're not the problem. And they're doing a great job and they're putting their heart and soul into this and they're getting railed as well. That's what upsets me the most, is the people that put 13, 14, 15 hours a day into this game or whatever it is, you know, when they were trying to get the alpha going, and they're also under fire. You know, their job is at risk. You know what I mean? Like, that sucks. You know what I mean? It doesn't make sense. It sucks.
For the studio. In response, Bungie reached out to Fern, and it's unclear if Bungie compensated her for the stolen materials. They also
Val, you can't sit there and say they knew, brother. You don't know that, man. Artists follow artists all the time. Like, we cannot sit here and be like, come on, bro. Like, from one Christian to another, you can't sit there and know exactly what happened. That's not possible, dude. We don't know. We don't know what happened. Joseph Cross has had that art just like that for 10 years. Anti-Rail wasn't even born 10 years ago. I don't even know how old she is. She's probably born 10 years ago. But, like, dude, we don't know. We can't sit here and, like, pretend like we know that they knew. We don't know that. We have no idea.
Provided a public apology and said if she'd like to work at Bungie, they would also
we can assume
support that.
With
who wants to work?
So with everything that's gone on, we can 100% assume Bungie's fault. 100%. They stole it. They sat there, stole everything. We can assume that. Based on the facts that are at hand, we can assume, we can say that, yep, they stole everything. They're a bunch of jerks. But we don't know that that's the case. We don't know if Joseph, like I said, I literally just said this. We don't know how much inspiration, if he took 5% inspiration from her stuff, I still think that even then there should be some sort of contact there and say like, hey, or I don't know. I don't really know how that works. The inspiration side of things. If it's 80%, inspiration, that's a problem. All right, but let me ask you something. If they fall, do you think that someone who's going to steal your art without you knowing or without you wanting to get compensation for it, do you think that they would follow you on Twitter, or do you think that they would just take your art and run away? Why would they take art while following her on Twitter? Do you not know? Do you not think that she's like, oh, Joseph Cross follows me? Joseph Cross is one of the most popular art people in gaming. Wouldn't that, like, if I was an artist and Joseph Cross followed me, I'd be like, oh, so someone's taking interest in my stuff. Ooh, I'm gonna see what's going on, and then I'm gonna follow and see exactly what they're doing. Oh, there's 5 people from Bungie following me. Ooh, this is interesting. What's going on here? Like, it's literally, you're putting up a flag that says, hey, we're looking at your art. I don't know, man.
Look at the studio who stole your stuff. Bungie also completely scrubbed all stolen decals and art, but at this point, once people look at the studio art director's personal portfolio...
After 4 repeat offenses, why would they not have controls in place? I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. Like I said, I don't know who stole, who's involved, who did anything. But I'm telling you right now, if I was a thief and I was stealing from a store, I would not have a sign above my head that says, I'm interested in your products. I wouldn't do that. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it. I'm saying in my mind, why would they follow if they were legitimately going to steal? If you're saying like Joseph Cross and all of them are involved, which I don't believe, why would all of them follow her? I think it was one person, like they said, who stole the art, put a whole bunch of stuff on a sheet, and let's just paint this picture. They stole the art. They put it all on a decal sheet. People saw that. Then they took inspiration from the decal sheet and made more from that. Who knows? I don't know what happened. I am not going to freaking sit here and pretend this has happened with Halo. This has happened with every game that I defend. Is people pretend like they're a fly on the wall. They know exactly what's happening into a company. And because they're a corporation, all of a sudden, everybody in there is evil. That is not the case. Period. It's just not. I've worked with many of them internally to tell you that that is not the case. They are not all evil. I know they're not. But again, we're not flies on the wall. We don't know who's evil and who's not, or who's doing things deliberately and who's not. We don't know that. We can't say we know.
And compared it to the stolen artist, people
I followed Cross for over 10 years, ever since I was in school to be a concept artist. I can confirm that as a concept artist, we all follow tons of artists. I know for sure he did not personally steal the art. He's always had this style in his work. I agree 100% that it was a different artist in the company. Still bad on Bungie's part, but it's so dumb to think the entire company let's copy and paste. Nobody will ever know. Exactly.
To believe nation.
Exactly.
Insert mermaid man evil.
Frank, thank you so much for the resub. Exactly. That's what I'm trying to say, man. You cannot sit here and pretend like you know that everybody is stealing art from everybody. Dude, like we're talking about people putting their jobs at risk. Okay, that one guy, guaranteed, because I was going to work for Bungie. There are contractor positions that last 1 year. Maybe that guy was at the end of his contract position and he was trying to get a permanent job. And he's like, let me take some art. Stupid idiot decision. Maybe he even got it from AI. I think that's the root of the problem. Everyone's lazy. That person is gone already. Yeah, I mean, I don't know when they're gone. But at the end of the day, everyone is correct. They should 100% have things in place that stop these things from happening. This is time number 4. There should be things in place. That is, without a doubt, 100% true.
Felt like the whole soul of Marathon had potentially been lifted from her work. It didn't help that when Bungie actually did do that livestream and did make the public apology, the quality of the livestream was worse than the average streamer. So many technical problems, it barely functioned, it did more harm than good. Things from there went bad to worse, and as because things were so bad, morale at the studio plummeted off a cliff. Developers were becoming increasingly concerned about the future of the game and questioned whether Marathon would release at all. It got so bad that both current and former Bungie employees provided context to the situation, saying there was actually Bungie leadership that was the problem.
Now, when it comes to Bungie leadership, like, are these people like disgruntled employees that are no longer working there? Are they current employees? Did they get fired and so they're pissed off? Are they the ones that got laid off? Who knows? Is there any day you aren't blessed to be here? What? No shade, but every day is a blessing. I'm aware. I pretty much say I'm blessed every single day. Rubik's, yeah. What? That's confusing. Confusing comment, my friend. I don't know where that, yes. I play video games for a living. I think I say it every day that I'm very blessed to be here. Yeah, vibing? All right, cool. Management is the issue. True. Yes.
Parsons, the Bungie CEO, was notoriously known for laying off veteran Bungie staff right when their stock was about to mature to get out of paying employees what they were owed. This is meanwhile while Pete Parsons was spending $2 million on buying vintage cars.
All right, so like, that's a lot of cars. $2.4 million is a lot of money. Is he like taking from the company to do that? If that's the case, that's a problem. I mean, I don't know, man. Goodness me.
Ex-Bungie developers then came out and said that the leadership at the studio purposely tanked Destiny 2 DLC, which shocked so many players of the game. In saying that, it kept on coming, as that it also came out that Bungie leadership was warned about problems with Marathon very early on. The day-to-day developers and even private playtesters provided critical feedback and warned that so many things were wrong with Marathon.
All right, so this is an issue where, and this is an issue that is widespread in my opinion, right? We have developers that are very open to giving playtests and taking feedback. In fact, the only reason I was there at the studio was to give feedback that I couldn't sit here and say that I belong there. With how many people were there and how big content creators were that were there, in my mind, like, I kept wondering why I was there, right? It was because I'm very critical about what I say. I'm very, like, I'm outspoken about what I feel about the game I'm playing or whatever, and they wanted that. Now, what the developers want, and the meetings that we had, and the times that they talked to us and asked us our opinion and different topics, etc., doesn't mean that when it gets to the upper ladder, it's going to matter, okay? So all these developers can take everything that we said and push it up the ladder. But if the ladder, the person at the top of the ladder doesn't want what we're saying, and he has this vision and he's stubborn about his vision and he doesn't care to change it, guess what's going to happen? He's going to take what I say and what everyone else says and throw it off the ladder and throw it back down to the bottom. And unfortunately, from what I'm hearing here, that's exactly what happened. Again, I don't blame the developers because they were all very, like, we had conversations for a while, hours, about what is good, what is bad, what needs to stay, what needs to go, etc. And they were getting everyone's feedback because, you know, we're all coming from different games. You know, I came from Halo. There's people that came from Destiny. There's people that, you know, blah, blah, blah. Like, you know, it is what it is. But for me, it's like, it sucks because when the upper guy at the top of the ladder has a sort of, like, I don't know, like a sort of vision for the game, and he's very stubborn about his vision. He doesn't want it to change, and he believes in what he's saying, then it's nothing else is going to happen.
And yet the leadership at the studio purposely ignored it. The overall tone described by how employees were being treated was toxic and humiliating. Many lifelong fans of Bungie were really upset once they heard this. Now, after all of that, there is no way things could have possibly gotten any worse. And once I list everything like this, you're like, whoa, so much has happened. Well, it did get worse, as Marathon in nearly every aspect was becoming increasingly despised. The stolen art had soured many fans off of playing the game, and other extraction shooters were being received better than Marathon.
I can't wait for Arc Raiders. I'm gonna be honest, like, I cannot wait for Arc Raiders, man. Supposed to drop on the 6th, by the way, chat. Very excited to play it. I hate third-person shooters, but maybe, just maybe, my mind will be changed. I really hope so.
Meaning even the
I hope it's a full release as well.
Market that was supposed to be resonating with Marathon wasn't, and yet things still got worse. The final blow, and it's still yet to be seen the full ramifications of this, Sony, the company that acquired Bungie for over $3 billion, made the monumental decision to cancel all future marketing for the...
That didn't happen, by the way. That was a report that did not happen. In fact, Sony was like, idiots, and released in a Sony trailer, put Marathon in there, and had the date there as well. And if I was Sony, before I released that trailer, if the date was not supposed to be there or whatever, I wouldn't put it there. I would just have Marathon there. But the date was still there saying, guys, we're still launching it on this day. So in my eyes, I'm like, oh God, how many hours are these devs going to have to do to get that date and complete the launch by that day? I don't know.
The game was planned to release in 2025, but at this point, people are highly doubtful the game is going to release this year. I don't think it will. From what a
Sony trailer literally just came out with the exact date that it's supposed to release on. So again, marketing issues, not true. Sony just put out his trailer with the date. Again, all it takes is going into Premiere and deleting the text file that says the date on the marathon thing. Very quick. I edit video, like I edit videos for my YouTube channel. It's not that hard to take text out and remove it and then re-upload. It's not that hard. So obviously they kept that in there for a reason. But yeah.
I heard the game will not be cancelled at this point, as so much time and money has been sunk into it, but it very well may get put back into the oven for an extended period of time to avoid a Concord 2.0 situation. But at this point, the game would have to be completely overhauled systemically, top to bottom, to have any hope of succeeding. Something that Bungie leadership have been unwilling to do, even though day-to-day developers warned them. And that is the Bungie Marathon situation. What a journey, truly, from the extraordinary highs of the first reveal
Such a journey.
to the bottom of the barrel lows once it came out how toxic Bungie leadership was. So many people wanted Marathon to succeed, myself included, but at this point, many people will never bother to try the game regardless of the changes because of everything I just spoke about today. With that said,
I don't agree with that. I think everyone's going to play the game regardless of what happens, no matter what. I think everyone's going to play the game. I think it's going to launch. If the game is good, everyone will play it, period. If the game is good and people like it, all of this will be forgotten. So what it's about is releasing a good game, giving us something. And I'm going to be honest with you, Bungie knows how to hype a game up. So I think it's possible. At the end of the day, I like the game. So if it comes out and I enjoy playing it still, I will play it. So those are my thoughts. If you're going to play it as well when it comes out and you enjoyed Marathon and you were one of the few that did enjoy it, let me know down below how much you enjoyed it and what you enjoyed about it. I will see you guys in the next video.